Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the latest update on the Ptarmigan Fire. Today we have three speakers intended to present. We'll have Adam Bianchi, who is the Dillon District Ranger. We also will have Sheriff Jamie Fitzsimons and Summit County Commissioner Josh Blanchard. I wanted to let you know that we also will be holding off all questions until the end, and then we'll have everyone up who needs to answer the questions. Among the people that we have here available for answering questions, should that be needed, we have Summit Fire and EMS Chief Travis Davis back here in the corner. We also have Deputy Chief John Wilkerson. Dan Gibbs is the Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Natural Resources and a red-carded wildland firefighter. I always like to point that out. So he's part of our team here as well. Then finally, you should know that David Boyd in the back here is the Public Information Officer for the White River National Forest. As of 6:30 this morning, the White River National Forest management team, the Type 3 management team, came in and took over management of this fire. The local fire department, Summit Fire and EMS, still is involved in part of the structure protection team. We also have brought in firefighters from all around the region. And with that, let me kick it off. Adam, did you want to start, or Sheriff Fitzsimons? Let's have Sheriff Fitzsimons come up. Between each speaker, we're going to have Myra Rojas from the county offering a quick highlighted Spanish translation. So please bear with us on this. And I will ask that the speakers take off their masks. That was one of the big criticisms from last night, was that people couldn't hear. Sorry, we were hasty in putting together this thing. Thanks, Sheriff.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jamie Fitzsimons, I am your sheriff. So this morning, we got together, obviously, with the Forest Service. We've joined a unified command with the Sheriff's Office, U.S. Forest Service, whose fire it still is, and also the town of Silverthorne. The reason for the Sheriff's Office and the town of Silverthorne, obviously, joining with the U.S. Forest Service on a completely Forest Service fire is because I've ordered evacuations. So that now ties me into it. And as well as Silverthorne, because Angler Mountain is the town of Silverthorne. So those are the reasons for that. Total out there right now that we've, in this evacuation and pre-evacuation, and there's about 617 structures with the risk value of about $400 million. You can see that quite the air show has taken place out there. I'm going to let my partner here, Adam, talk about that and the assets they've ordered. I specifically want to talk to you about the evacuations that now I've ordered in Angler Mountain. The reason for that is because with the incoming storm and the winds changing direction and what we've seen this morning since the sun has come up and warmed up that fire and the activity, we just want to be prudent and proactive and obviously precautionary. And it's easier to move people out of these neighborhoods like we did last night while things are like this, rather than a panic, right, in the last minute panic. So we ask for a little bit of grace. We ask for your patience. We will, what I'm going to try to do, any of you that have lived through the Buffalo Fire here with all of us, there was a time and place in the Buffalo Fire where I found time periods where we were allowed to let residents back in to grab something they may have left, whether it be clothes, whether it be belongings, whether it be medication. Adam and I will get together and we'll talk about that as the day and days go on. And I'm going to look for windows for you folks to get back up into those two neighborhoods to get anything you might have left. What you're going to need to do is in the back room here is they're credentialing people. And those are the only credentials that will allow you back up in the neighborhood so that we're able to track who we've let in and who we've let out and make sure that, most importantly, that you've come back out safely. So please make sure that you get credentialed. We will be opening another shelter tonight at the Summit Middle School. So that will be opening again tonight. It'll shut down again in the morning, and we'll reassess that daily as we go on. The other thing I want to talk about is, again, in between these hours, we're going to find for you to go back in the neighborhood. We ask you to please don't jam up the areas around where we have a lot of public safety. As you can see, we're putting helicopters, or Adam's putting helicopters in the North Pond. So that could be a safety hazard. We're also, just so everyone hears this and so I'm clear, is we're experiencing a lot of drones flying in the air. And here's what you need to know about drones, and I hope this gets out on the news, is that if Adam has aircraft in the air and a drone flies up in the air, they've got to immediately ground all those aircraft, right? And so if we ground all the aircraft, we're not able to fight the fire because it's not safe at this point, and Adam will talk about this, to put ground crews in there yet, even though we're assembling ground crews. So we need those air assets. We need to be able to fly. They can only fly during hours of daylight. I do have federal law enforcement partners that I'm very near and dear to that will find these people flying the drones, and they will go after them. So I'm just telling you, keep the drones out of the air. I can't be any more passionate about please keep those drones out. That's all I really have, unless somebody has any questions.
Sheriff will hold questions until.
Perfect.
That's all right.
Yes, thank you.
Have Myra come up and offer a quick little
Oh,
translation.
God. I apologize, man.
Thank you. Buenos días. Como decía nuestro sheriff de department, de que pues el día de hoy el fuego ha subido un poquito más, ha crecido durante la noche, pero tenemos al personal de los bomberos ayudándonos a combatir este fuego con 3 nuevos aeronaves para combatir este incendio. ¿Por qué se pidió esta ayuda? Es porque estamos en evacuación con 600 viviendas, que es un total de 412.5 millones de valor que están en riesgo. Pedimos por favor de que si están con drones o aviones no capacitados para andar en el área, por favor, están completamente prohibidos. No queremos ver nada de eso, ya que eso obstruye a la ayuda que tenemos ahorita con las aeronaves. Vamos a abrir una nueva curso de emergencia para toda la gente que está en evacuación en Summit Middle School. Va a estar abierto hoy en la tarde y se va a cerrar en la mañana del siguiente día. Así de que si tienen cualquier emergencia pueden acudir ahí. También vamos a ver si podemos establecer un periodo para que ustedes vayan otra vez de regreso a sus hogares a agarrar cosas que hayan dejado atrás. Pero tenemos a personal aquí atrás que están dando como un permiso. Queremos darles el permiso a la gente como una hojita para que ellos vayan y tengamos un listado de quién está yendo a sus casas, para tener un número de gente que estamos dejando ir. Cualquier duda que tengan, pues pueden llamar a la línea de ayuda, que es el 668-9700. Gracias.
So this is Dillon District Ranger Adam Bianchi.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Adam Bianchi. I'm the district ranger here for the Dillon Ranger District Forest Service. So right now, let's go back to last night. Around 5 o'clock or so, we received the first so-called smoke report. I think everybody could see it pretty easily right off the bat. But we were able to get one large air tanker to complete one drop yesterday evening, and we had a Type 1 helicopter was able to work for about 20 minutes. Then it gets a little too dark, and we had to pull resources off. We had some ground crews up there as well, so we pulled folks off yesterday evening, and that's when a lot of the evacuation discussions started to happen, and we were kind of wait and see mode throughout the night. We saw a lot of fire activity over the night, which, with temperatures dropping, it was a little surprise to us to see a lot of the torching that we saw, and a lot, especially in some of those aspen stands as well. So it was a little bit unprecedented fire behavior that we saw through the night, and we figured that it roughly gained about 40 acres or so overnight. We don't have a great size up at this point. We did fly a multi-mission aircraft last night about 10 o'clock who flies high enough and gets heat signatures from the fire, and it came out to be just around 17 acres as of last night at 10 o'clock. So again, we think it maybe grew another 40 as of this morning. So we ordered a bunch of resources again for today. Our air resources are kind of coming from all over the place, so it's taking a little bit to get here, but they just showed up about 20 minutes ago, as many of you probably have seen. We've got one large air tanker that's putting retardant and is really working the get my pointer here right, kind of the west and the south flanks. That is the critical spot for us. We don't want it to continue to move downhill into the housing developments where our structures are at. And so we're really trying to work on this flank. The great thing about it is that is predominantly where a lot of the aspen is. We've got some grass and sage. And so it is an area where we can start to engage the fire a little more aggressively, especially on the south side of the hill here on the south. And the plan is today potentially to do some firing operations as well to protect the substation, the electrical substation just below that. So right now we're really going to tie into the Ptarmigan Trail, use that trail to help us, and throw as much retardant as we can kind of along that west side. Additionally, we've got one heavy air tank or helicopter, a Chinook, that's dropping as much as water as possible, and we've got a Type 3, a smaller helicopter with a bucket that is also working the fire. We've got two 20-person hand crews that are on order, they're en route, and right now we've got one suppression crew of 7 personnel that are currently on the fire that are help directing the air resources. So as of this point, we're still kind of getting our bearings a little bit, but the real goal for today is to hit that west flank and the south flank. Let's see. The sheriff mentioned the drones from yesterday evening as well. I'll reiterate that. That's really tough for us. Right now, our main mission is utilizing those aircraft because we just do not have the personnel on the ground yet. There is a lot of dead standing lodgepole. Last night up along the fire line, we could hear a lot of the trees coming down, and we know it's not the safest place to engage with firefighters. So we are really utilizing the air resources. So with that, if the drones are up there, it really grounds our ability to fight this fire aggressively. So I really appreciate the sheriff's work last night to put emphasis on that again today, because I think for us this morning and this afternoon, they are calling for a little bit of potential precipitation this afternoon. So right now we're kind of in the heat of it, where it's really going to determine, I think, how this fire moves in the next couple of hours before we potentially get precipitation. And looking into the next couple of days, that's really going to be our goal. We're going to shore up some of these spot fires that you can see that threw kind of ahead of the fire. The column kind of laid down to the north last night, kind of caused some of these spot fires. And so we're really going to look at those and try to shore up those as well to make sure that those don't continue to grow and push the fire further north. We're really looking at additional precipitation in the next couple days as well. So we're really looking forward to utilizing the weather to help us fight this, along with air resources and the ground resources that are coming. That is what I have for now.
Good. Let's bring Ira back up for
Sure.
translation.
Ok, un pequeño resumen de lo que él dijo. A lo que era el mapeo ayer, se estaban viendo 7 acres, lo que estaba incendiado, pero ya con el traspaso de la noche aumentó. Entonces, hace como 20 minutos ya llegó la ayuda aeronáutica. Esperamos, ¿verdad?, que con ayuda también del clima esto vaya mejorando poco a poco. Se vuelve a recalcar, por favor, no queremos drones, ningún aparato que ande volando y esté tratando de interrumpir la ayuda aérea que tenemos en este momento. Gracias.
And now we have Summit County Commissioner Josh Blanchard to wrap up the remarks that we have prepared for this presentation.
Thank you, Steve. Here we go. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sheriff and Adam and Myra as well. Josh Blanchard, Summit County Commissioner, and on behalf of my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Pogue and Commissioner Lawrence, we want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. I will keep my comments brief so that we can get to questions. We know everyone in this community is concerned about the Ptarmigan Fire. We share those concerns, of course, at Summit County government, but we want to reiterate how important it is to follow the emergency evacuation orders. If your neighborhood or your community is issued a pre-evacuation order or an evacuation order, be prepared. If you're given that evacuation notice, we need you to leave immediately and safely. Make sure that you have your credentials and the recommended items that you have with you. And to the sheriff's point, please make sure that you're prepared to go. There may be opportunities for you to be released back, but we know that we need to follow the orders as they come out. Make sure that you follow us on Summit County Government on our Facebook page, as well as the U.S. Forest Service, the White River National Forest on Facebook for the latest updates. This is a great time if you haven't already signed up for Summit County alerts to do so. You can do that at scalert.org or summitcountyco.gov. If you haven't already signed up for those alerts, you can get those alerts, and that's where those pre-evacuation notices and evacuation notices come out immediately. Above all, we at Summit County Government want to thank the outpouring of support. First of all, on a local level, we know folks are already calling in and asking, where can we bring items, blankets, clothes, etc. Thank you so much for doing that. We will continue to pull together resources so that we can serve those in our community that need it. But we want to thank our local agencies that have enabled us to respond so quickly. Of course, town of Silverthorne and our other town partners, the U.S. Forest Service, Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office, our fire departments, our utility services. We've also heard from our state and congressional leaders. I was just texting from a representative from Senator Bennett's office, and we're so thankful for the support that we have from the state level. Thank you, Dan Gibbs, as well. So we appreciate also the neighboring support from mutual aid coming from our neighboring communities, Grand County, Clear Creek, Eagle County, Leadville, etc. We appreciate your tremendous support. We know that Summit County is special. We know that our mountain community pulls together to support one another in times of needs in ways that are truly unique. And this strength of our community character is unique, and it's inspiring for all of us. So we appreciate your support. We will get through this together. So again, from all of us at Summit County Government and your Board of County Commissioners, thank you all for being here. And with that, I will turn that back over for our questions. For Myra to come up. Thanks, Adam.
Por favor, estén al tanto. Los que ya están evacuados, vamos a, como dijimos al principio, vamos a tratar de ver si pueden regresar a recoger cosas a sus hogares con el permiso del gobierno. También queremos que tengan al tanto de la pre-evacuación, estén alertas a los mensajes. Si no se han inscrito, están las alertas del condado de Summit establecidas para el pueblo, pueden inscribirse también. Queremos también agradecer a la ayuda de todos los bomberos que han venido a ayudar, que son el pueblo de Summit. Tenemos también a Eagle, tenemos Leadville, tenemos Grand Lake, que están ayudándonos con el acuerdo que tenemos en los incendios de las montañas. Cualquier duda que tengan, como dijimos, pueden llamar a la línea de ayuda al 970-668-9700. Gracias. Thank you.
At this point, we will open the floor for a few questions. Let me also point out that we do have a public information hotline at 970-668-8700. Is that 9700? Sorry, 668-9700, where we can answer specific questions if we do not get a chance to answer them today. We just want to answer a few of the high point questions right now with the officials that we have in the room. And if there are any questions that can't be answered, we will be glad to chase down answers for you so that we can give you the information that you need.
The phone number, please.
970-668-9700.
I'm just trying to get some clarification on the acreage. Are we at 20 acres and an additional 40? So like 60 acres?
Correct. Yes, that's correct. So as of last night, it was 17 acres. We're thinking at this point it grew another 40. So yeah, closer to that 60-acre number as of right now, but we haven't had another flight to determine that acreage. That's just ballpark.
Can you give us a better understanding, like the number of homes that are either evacuated or under pre-evac, just to kind of gauge a better understanding of how this is impacting the community?
Great. The question was give us an estimate of the number of homes that have been evacuated or subject to pre-evacuation. Sheriff Fitzsimons should be able to give us that.
So it's 617 homes at a value of about $400 million.
And you anticipate more today?
Do I anticipate it? Absolutely, but do I know it for sure? I don't. It's all going to depend on the fire conditions out there.
And that's 617 homes have been evacuated plus are under a potential evacuation?
Total homes between evacuation and pre-evacuation.
The credential system, is that for everyone just here, or should people go somewhere to get them if they're being evacuated?
So thank you for the question. The credentials is for residents only, and they will get them right back here in this back room. And it's for when we do, so it'll be for two reasons. One, when we start letting people back in for a small window of time, and then when we start letting people back into their homes permanently. So that credential will come in handy. Residents only.
Salt Lake, Colorado, obviously no stranger to wildfires, mostly wildfires impacting homes. We know sometimes homeowners aren't always as eager or willing to leave their homes, thinking they can either ride it out or they feel safe enough. Do you have a message to folks that might be wanting to stay at home as opposed to leaving?
Yeah, I think the message has been clear from everyone that spoke up here is that if I give an order to evacuate, leave, and if the pre-evacuation, if you have somewhere to go, I would still leave. I wouldn't wait until the it turns from a pre-evac to an evacuation.
You've seen that happen a few times.
You see it happen all the time. Thank you for that.
Where did you say that we can take food and goods that people that are evacuated might need? Where do we take that stuff?
That's a great question.
Somebody said something about that.
I think we're coordinating. Thank you for the question. We are working to coordinate where those services, can be. So stay tuned for more information. I believe there's going to be an internal conversation at 1, so we'll try to lay out the groundwork for where people can either drop off supplies or request supplies
So
and
maybe
goods.
by tonight. Yeah.
By tonight, we should have a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, can you estimate any time when some of us can go back? Because we were locked out of our house. We were away from home and then we couldn't get back, so we
Yeah.
don't have anything.
No, thank you for the question. I don't have an estimated time, and here's what we're dealing with, right? So last night, obviously, it started late in the evening. And so this morning, nothing happens overnight. And this morning, we're all assembling on the fire. The Forest Service, myself, as well as the town of Silverthorne. And as soon as I can get with the actual operations folks that are fighting this fire and determine that there are certain streets, areas, top, bottom, middle, of both Angler Mountain and Hamilton Creek, then we're going to look for those windows to, in an orderly fashion, let credentialed residents back in. So what I would tell you is I will send out an SC alert. So we talked about SC alert. We'll push it out on the sheriff's office social media. And just the social media thing, I don't think there's a wrong door. I think we've all agreed that we're all sharing everything. So whether you go to the sheriff's office, social media, the counties, the Forest Service, it won't matter. You'll be getting the same messaging. So don't think that you have to try to go to different places. Yes, ma'am.
Will our driver's license work as far as credentials?
To present here, yes.
So we have to present something?
Yes, and then they'll print you out our own credential.
Oh.
That's what's going to get you back in your neighborhood.
Oh.
Well, quick question. I'm representing a friend that was evacuated, has dementia. She's staying at my home. I cannot get her here with her credentials to get her to her home. Can I get something?
We can figure something out.
Okay, thank you.
I just have some questions about the actual fire movement.
Ah,
So I actually
my friend Adam would be happy to answer that.
So I was up by where the parade of homes was, and I made a phone call at around, I think it was 4:45.
Right.
And the line was busy. She told me she'd already gotten the phone calls. Great. So I came home and we started moving stuff around. But it was one little plume of smoke, and I now come back over here, and there's tons, and it looks like it actually went south instead of north, because I live on the north end of Hamilton Creek, Lakeview Circle at the top. So we were the first ones out. So it just looks like it's multiplying to me, and 2 new ones, and yet there was hardly any wind, so I'm just concerned.
Yeah, so a couple things. As it got late into the evening, it takes us a little bit, one of our watch outs for firefighters is, being on ground that we're unfamiliar with in unseen conditions. And so, our firefighter safety is number one for us. And so as it's getting dark, we pulled any sort of resources that we're trying to work to get the best views of the fire. And so we were trying to utilize air resources the best we could given the limited amount of time. Right now, our air resources are getting pulled all over the nation. And so we are, this is the number one priority for the Rocky Mountain region of the Forest Service. So that's Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska. And so we are getting the resources back. But prior to this, it takes a little bit for us to get the air resources back from all over the country. And so what we had last night was a little bit of limitation given time and the resources available. So that caused that little 1 acre plume to start to grow pretty quickly given some of the fuel conditions that it was in and the ability for us to get the resources we needed on it. And then through the night, the winds started to push it a little bit to the north, and that's how you see the spot fire here. So the column laid over and was pushing embers out past this. And that's why we threw that multi-mission aircraft, because it picks up heat for us. So we knew as soon as it started to fold over that we were going to have some spot fires. So we flew that multi-mission aircraft. It picked up the heat signature of these 2 small spots. And we then from there started to monitor, and that's when we started to talk about the evacuations and the proper what we should consider to do if this thing continued to spot and moved itself to the north and potentially to the west. We had folks that stayed on there all night long. We had structure engines up in the neighborhood all night long as well. And knowing today, this morning, we would get our first real good eyes on it and understand exactly what we were dealing with. And so it is growing. It grew through the night. But our hope now is we have the resources here that we can start to get a little bit of containment and catch it and knock it and prevent it from moving to the west is our main goal.
And if you could talk a little bit about the fuels again, it grew.
Up higher, we've got a mixed conifer stand of spruce, fir, and lodgepole, predominantly dead lodgepole. As you move a little further to the west, it gets into more of an aspen stand, and then further west, as you get closer to the homes, it's a mix of sage and grass. What we were seeing actually is the fire backing in that aspen stand, which is pretty unusual that late in the evening. We were getting a group torching as well through that. And that was pretty surprising to us. We actually had good relative humidity last night. It was in the 70s, so that part we thought we were pretty good with relative humidity. But we're getting close to the ERCs, which is the energy release component, which is basically the amount of percentage of energy a piece of fuel can release as it's being burned. We give that a percentage, and it helps us determine how likelihood of when a fire does happen, of what we can see from the amount of energy and flame lengths and that sort of thing. And we're getting up close to that 90th percentile, and that's kind of our threshold. So we are seeing some 40 degrees at night. We know it's cold, but we had a good enough wind on it. The fuels are drying out. Like I said, some of the numbers were just kind of lining up for us a little bit last night.
Any idea how it started?
That's under investigation, but you can see that it does cross a trail. So I'll just say that.
Let me intrude here. Now, we should let these fire managers get back to their duties and make sure that we're giving our full attention now to trying to get a handle on this thing. For those of you who have further questions, please again know to call the public hotline 970-668-9700. And for the media, David Boyd is available right now, so maybe catch him while you can. Otherwise, we will try to make sure we get every question answered. Sorry to cut this short, but I do want to get these guys back out on duty. Great question. The next update, did we say 6 p.m. here again? Yeah. Good. Thank you for asking that, and we will see you all back here. Thanks again for your attention.
Thank you.